So welcome to the seminar. It's a new perspectives on Russia and Eurasia seminars. My name is Margarita Zavadsky, and I'm very happy to see so many of you today. So this is the very first seminar of our series this academic year. So we are particularly happy and pleased to be here, and part of our audience are actually physically at the Alexander Institute. So, and I'm more than happy to introduce our today's speaker, Professor of Political Science at the High School of Economic and a visiting fellow here at the Alexander Institute, University of Helsinki, Stanislav Shkel. So, who will be talking about ethnicities, a sovereign nation, a souvenir people. So, and maybe he will, not maybe, but he will definitely decipher and explain what he means and what kind of meaning and senses are hiding behind these terms. So, and I'm also happy to introduce our discussant, Professor Vladimir Gelman, Professor of Political Science, Russian Politics at the University of Helsinki and European University of St. Petersburg, who will be here, I guess, from St. Petersburg, right?
Actually, I'm in Helsinki too.
We cannot hear you, but now we can. Now we can. Okay, good. So without any further ado, so I'm giving the floor to Stanislav, so about 30-40 minutes. So, and we'll keep an eye on the timing, and then Vladimir will give his comments and feedback, and then we'll open the floor to the audience. And of course, if you have any comments or questions, so feel free to write them in the chat section here in Zoom. So, and just to make sure that I will make sure that everyone will have a chance to ask a question or just to share your ideas and react to what is being, to what we're going to discuss today. So please, the floor is yours, and I will mute my mic. Hopefully everything should be working fine.
Okay, thank you very much for so kind introductions me, and I hope you can hear me. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so and first of all, I would like to thank so many people in Alexander Institute and University of Helsinki because I would especially I'm grateful to Margarita Zavadskaya and Anna Korhonen in helped me to organize my visit in Finland, because it was not easy to organize this visit due to pandemic restrictions and any problems. So, and yeah, and now I'm here, and yeah, actually I'm really happy to be here, to work here, and yeah, it's actually it's an honor for me to speak in such respected scientific community. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's move on to my presentation. And now I share my screen. Yeah, I hope you can see title of my presentation here, and I will start by explaining the title of my presentation. Now, actually, title of my presentation is related to article by Rustem Minnikhanov. Rustem Minnikhanov is president of Republic of Tatarstan, and he published very interesting article on the elections of president of Tatarstan. And in this article, he demonstrates that he understands the main problem of Tatar people and a problem of Tatar language, Tatar culture, and he demonstrated that he is going to solve this problem. And you can see that he also said about future of Tatar nation, and Rustem Minnikhanov said that he consider future of Tatar nation like a strong nation which can develop their culture without any external support. And also Mikhanov said that but we definitely don't see ourselves as a souvenir people. I think I believe that this article is very interesting example how politicians in contemporary Russia try to use electoral ethnic factor in elections, and also I think it's very interesting evidence that ethnic culture issues in region of Russia, ethnic republic of Russia, are very extremely important. And if we give answer on the questions why this problem in contemporary Russia so important that President of Tatarstan can't ignore them right before and during the elections, I believe what the main reason for it is language reform, the language reform of 2017. I mean, a reform when Vladimir Putin proposed to abolish study of native language in ethnic republics in Russia on mandatory basis. As a result, many people in ethnic republics received the right to refuse from study this language, and as a result, number of people who study native language in ethnic republic decreased dramatically. So, and in my opinion, this language reform is very important because this reform is very special. Of course, we can say that this reform is just in line of process of centralizations which began early. But in my opinion, until this reform, process of centralization had affected not so many people in ethnic republics. Centralization has affected maybe regional elites, but not ordinary peoples. But language reform actually is special because consequences of this reform became very important for many people among titular ethnic groups in ethnic republics, from teachers, officials, and so on. So if it's true, I think it's reasonable to expect that this reform maybe impact on electoral behavior of many people in ethnic republics. So, and latest research demonstrated that actually partially it's true. For example, in my previous research, I showed that Bashkirs and Yakuts reduced electoral support for Vladimir Putin as a result of latest elections, 2018, comparing with elections 2012. Also, Alice White recently published a very interesting article on turnout of non-Russian voters, and she showed that actually turnout of non-Russian voters decreased significantly over time, and maybe currently we can consider ethnic minority in Russia as a more loyal than Russian majority. So, and the question is why in one set of ethnic republic we can see change in electoral behavior of titular ethnic groups, but we can see the same result in other republics. Also, I believe that it's very interesting question, the issue about behavior of ethnic titular ethnic groups is important just because it's not secret that many ethnic republic supported incumbents in Russia higher than Russia average, than most Russian regions. In this picture, we can see a ranking of ethnic republics of Russia by level of electoral support for the president, Russian president for 2004 and 2020. We can see that not all, of course, yeah, but half of 21 ethnic republics out of the 21 republics, 11 ethnic republics actually supported Russian president higher than Russia, the average. You can see a red vertical line is average of Russia, and you can see that actually 11 republics supported Russian president higher, at least on 5 percentage points. So, and at least two questions rise. First one is what causes that variations in the level of political loyalty in different ethnic republics? And secondly, why is there volatility in the electoral behavior of the titular ethnic groups in some cases, but not in other? In my research, in current research, I try to give my answer on this question. And shortly about data and methods. Before in my researches, I used mainly quantity data and quantity method, but in this research, I continue to use quantitative data, but also I added qualitative data in form of surveys of representative of ethnic, titular ethnic groups. I used focus groups. And in this picture, you can see basic information about focus group. My colleagues and I collected data using 7 focus groups in 5 ethnic republics. So, by the way, I would like to thank Andrei Semyonov and Ildar Gabrafikov, they my colleagues who participate in this research project. For example, Andrei Semyonov conducted focus group in Yakutia, while Ildar Gabrafikov conducted focus groups in Bashkortostan and Tatarstan. Thank you. Shortly about focus group guide. I interested in the main topics. First of all, I asked my respondents during this focus group about influence of language reform on electoral behavior. So, for example, I asked my participant in focus group, did you discuss this reform 3 years ago, maybe, and do you consider this reform as so important that maybe this reform affects you electoral behavior? Also, I interested about who the voters blame for these decisions and the consequences of this reform. And also, I tried to use one of the advantage of focus group as a method, qualitative method. It's not secret, but in contrast to quantity method, qualitative method as a focus group give opportunity to not only test hypotheses, but also generate new hypotheses. And I try to collect all possibility, all explanations on explanations for two phenomena, electoral volatility and electoral loyalty. And this is my next part of my presentation, and during this part, I would like to describe each cases and to make the main conclusions. And let's start from Tatarstan. To measure loyalty and electoral volatility of titular ethnic groups, I used 2 variables. First is level of electoral support in each district, so local district. So it means what I used electoral data from from Russia Electoral Commission of Russian Federations. I mean, I used electoral statistic on local level. So, and to measure second variables, I mean, to measure a level of electoral support of among titular ethnic groups, I used data from all Russian population census. I used data about share of titular ethnic groups in each local district. So, and after that, I just used simple linear regression to identify the relationship between these 2 variables. So, and if we look on the data from Tatarstan, you can see that actually Tatarstan is region, which we can consider like a pillars of stability of current political regime in Russia, because we can see that Tatarstan provide high level of electoral support for incumbents, for Russian government, as well as region, president of Tatarstan, for example. Moreover, it's very interesting what in the structure of this loyalty, Tatars play significant role, because in general, statistics say us that Tatars support incumbents higher than other social group, than average of Russia. So simply say, we can see on these visualizations that the more Tatars in local district, the more electoral support for incumbents. So if we consider the latest electoral event, we can see that this relationship, and moreover, we can see that this relationship between these variables is positive and statistical significant. So, and as a result, it seems like language reform didn't affect electoral behavior of Tatars. And I try to test these conclusions through focus groups data. So, but it's very interesting what actually, if we consider focus group data, we can came to conclusions that actually situations is more complicated. Actually, the Tatars remember the language reform and assessed it negatively, extremely negatively. Moreover, Tatars blame the federal authorities for this, not regions. In contrast, one of the main consequences of language reform in Tatarstan is that most Tatars consolidated around the president of Tatarstan. And of course, when I got this result, I asked Tatar people about some kind of paradox. Okay, I asked, if you blame Russian government and Vladimir Putin personally for this language reform, for negative consequences of this reform, if you understand that Vladimir Putin charged for this reform, why you continue to support Russian government, at least according to official electoral statistics? And answer with as a fellow, actually, this support is just reflections of support for Tatar president, because people say, Tatars told me during the focus group, but actually we understand that in current situation, the most dangerous scenario is if Moscow will decide appoint maybe like in Yakutia, like in Bashkortostan. People told me that they understand that Moscow can appoint Varagian, outsider, and this scenario Tatars consider like a most worst. And to avoid this scenario, Tatars support first of all Tatar president, and when Tatar president asked to support Russian government, Tatars follow this policy. So in general, I found that actually Tatars supported first of all policy of president of Tatarstan, and if we try to explain this kind of electoral behavior, I think that maybe theory Timur Kuran's thesis about falsifications of preferences, as well as maybe Magaloni thesis about the tragic brilliance of the authoritarianism. Maybe this theory are most relevant to explain this kind of behavior. So, and finally, about Tatarstan, shortly about electoral loyalty, respondents also told me about economic efficiency as a very as a factor which is really important. Why many Tatars support president of Tatarstan, because regional elite used economic efficiency as a source of legitimacy, and most people in Tatarstan, comparing Tatarstan and other regions, believe that economic efficiency is one of the advantages of Tatarstan, and it's it's the main reason why people also supported regional elites and the president of Tatarstan. Next, shortly about Bashkortostan. Bashkortostan case which is different, at least after 2014. Before these elections, we can see that Bashkortostan and Tatarstan are the same, because like in Tatarstan, Bashkortostan demonstrated high level of electoral support, and like in Tatarstan, in Bashkortostan, we can see that in this structure of loyalty, Bashkirs play significant role. You can see that the more Bashkir in district, local district, the more electoral support for incumbents. So, and after, it's no secret that in 2010, Moscow decided to appoint in Bashkortostan as a head of region, not member of regional elites, like in Tatarstan, but outsider, like a Eurasia, because Rustem Minikhanov actually was not member of regional elites. Moreover, most Bashkir didn't recognize Rustem Hamidov as a Bashkir, actually, because Rustem Hamidov, maybe it's true that he is Tatar. So as a result, this decision, Moscow decisions about this type of successions of power lead to fragmentations of elite in Bashkortostan, and we can see that actually most Bashkir regional elites and most Bashkir didn't recognize Rustem Hamidov as a leader, and maybe it's the main reason why we can see some kind of electoral volatility in 2000 as a result of election 2014, and maybe think what is more interesting, that the same result we can see in Russian presidential election 2018. So we can see that Bashkirs reduced electoral support for Vladimir Putin significantly as a result of this as a result of these elections, comparing the previous elections in 2012. So, and to understand better reason for this, so we can come to conclusions that Bashkortostan is a case which demonstrates high level of electoral volatility. And if talk about the reason for it, using focus group, I found as a fellow, the main result from focus group as a fellow. First of all, like in Bashkortostan, Bashkirs remember about language reform and assess its negatively. But in contrast to Tatarstan, Bashkirs blame the both federal and regional authorities. So as a result, we can see decrease in the rating of federal and regional authorities in case of Bashkortostan. And according to the focus group data, we can come to conclusions that actually the main reason for it, it's fragmentations of elites, and as a result of these fragmentations, we can see high level of activity independent actors, for example, in form of national organizations, for example. As a result, many respondents told me about that actually they more supported opinion leaders of some national organizations than opinion regions elites. For example, most famous organizations is organizations which called Bashkort, and in current time, this organization, Russian government recognizes these organizations as extremistic, and now these organizations is prohibited in Russia. But despite this fact, Bashkirs during the focus group told me that they continue to support these organizations, because these organizations reflect interests of Bashkir people better than other political actors, regional elites, and so on. So, and if we compare Tatarstan and Bashkortostan, I think what the main conclusions is that the structure of regional elites influence the electoral volatility. Because in Tatarstan, still structure of elite is monolithic, while in Bashkortostan we can see some kind of fragmentations of elite. As a result, it's lead to high level of competition and it's lead to some kind of opportunity for activity of national organizations, and national organizations started to undermine status of head of region as a only and main defender of national Bashkir interest from pressure of Moscow. So if in Tatarstan people consider the president of Tatarstan as the main defender from pressure of Moscow, in Bashkortostan we can see other different situation. So I understand what I maybe have no time to consider in details each case, and if you don't mind, I'm skip description of Yakutia. Just I briefly say what I would like to say. What actually Yakutia and Bashkortostan are same cases in many ways. For example, Yakutia also, like a Bashkortostan case, which demonstrate electoral volatility. And also, if we consider the main results from focus group data in Yakutia, we can see the same result. What actually Yakuts, like in Bashkirs, remember about this reform and assess it negatively. And in general, I think that it's enough to say that Bashkortostan and Yakutia in many ways same cases. So let's consider maybe more in more details the latest two cases, Chuvashia Republic and Komi Republic, because these cases which don't demonstrate some kind of electoral volatility. In general, for example, electoral statistic data show that in Chuvashia Republic, it seems there is no some kind of correlations, statistical significant correlations between these two variables under the research, and we can see that it seems that language reform didn't affect electoral behavior of Chuvash people. So to understand better the reason for it, I asked people during the focus group in Chuvash Republic, and so the main result is a failure. Chuvash in general don't remember the language reform, and it's very interesting what Chuvash assess national policy positively, and actually they don't see some kind of problem in national issues. Many respondents told me that actually there are many theaters, TV channel, radio channel in Chuvash language, and one participant said to me that actually now we have even one Chuvash astronaut. So in general, people believe that there are any problem in national issue. Yeah, of course, many people concerned regarding the economical issues. Yeah, actually, Chuvash Republic is pretty poor region of Russia, and many people worry about economical development. But when we talk about national issue, in general, it seems like no any problem. So, and try to understand this result. I think there are two the main factors which impact on this perceptions of Chuvash people regarding the national issue. First is share of titular ethnic groups in Chuvash Republic. In contrast to previous cases, Chuvash takes about 70% in Chuvash Republic. So it means that Chuvash in Chuvash Republic is a majority, ethnic majority. So maybe you know it's Chuvash Republic take second place in its ranking among Russian regions. Chechen Republic is take first place, Chuvashia is second. So, and second reason for this result, I believe, it's again structure of elites, because in contrast to the previous cases, Bashkortostan and Yakutia, in Chuvashia Republic, elite structure still is monolithic. And for example, when I ask people about the main, maybe famous national organizations, people say to me only about one organization, which called Chuvash National Congress, but actually these organizations a long time ago co-opted in ruling coalitions and in winner coalitions, if you use terminology by Magaloni. So, so in general, these organizations is not independent. These organizations are really pro-government. So as a result, we can see that Chuvash actually, so it means that regional elites in Chuvash Republic frame issue, national issue in this way that really people don't worry about the national issue and continue to support both regional elites and federal center. So it's very interesting that Chuvash people don't tend to blame anyone for language reform, for some kind of problem, just because they don't see this problem. So, and Komi Republic, finally, Komi Republic is a very interesting republic, because in this case we can see some kind of electoral volatility, but this volatility rather in favor of Russian president, because we can see that after the language reform, Chuvash people started to support Vladimir Putin even more than before. Very interesting result, and I ask people about these maybe consequences, about this reason for it. So, and Komi Republic, the main result is a failure. Komi Republic don't remember the language reform, but in contrast to Chuvash Republic, Komi people tend to assess national problem in negative way. But it's very interesting that in perceptions of Komi people, current problem of in language, in national culture, don't connect with language reform. Many people told me that actually, yeah, there is many problems, but this problem are consequences of previous post-Soviet development, and it's very interesting that many Komi people tend to blame not federal center but regional elites for negative consequences of in development of national Komi culture. So, and now I move on to the final part of my presentation, and in this part I would like to try summarize the main finding from case studies, from empirical data, and try to maybe conceptualize the main finding. First, it's very interesting that, as I showed my data, in different ethnic republics, people, titular ethnic groups, members of titular ethnic groups, blame for consequences of this reform different political actors and different level of authorities. And it seems that this factor matter if we talk about electoral volatility, because we can see that we can find electoral volatility only in the cases where people tend to blame both regional and central authorities. So now we can see that in cases when people blame both level of authorities, people tend to orient it on other independent actors like national organizations, and national organizations undermine the play significant role in framing national agenda, political agenda, and so its effect on the electoral behavior. So, and besides this, in other cases, we can see stability in terms of electoral behavior, but in the same time, I believe that we have to distinguish two types of stability, because stability in Tatarstan and stability in Komi or Chuvashia Republic are different. I suggest to call stability in Tatarstan like a negative stability, because we can see that actually Tatars supporting of Tatar Russian president is like a falsifications of preferences. And we can see that this kind of stability, negative stability, we can find in the case when people blame rather central authority than regional authority for language reform. Finally, we can see that Komi Republic and Chuvashia Republic are cases which demonstrate positive stability, because in this republic we truly can find support for Russia government. But okay, yeah, there are some kind of variations between these cases regarding the political blame attributions, but the next question is a fellow. Okay, but what reason for it? Why people in different ethnic republic blame different political actors and different level authorities? And of course, according to my data from focus group, we can say about many factors, because of course, maybe Soviet legacy, specific of development of national movement in each republics, economic factors, I don't know, structure of elites, and many factors matters. But I think what if we focus only on electoral volatility, I believe what this set of factors are just consequences of the main factors, but the main factors is structure of elites. So, and if we consider loyalty as well as volatility in regarding these cases, I suggest this like a table which distributed cases according to the two factors. I believe that elite structure is the main factor when we talk about electoral volatility, because we can see volatility only in the cases where elite structure is fragmented. It's maybe I repeat, but only in these conditions, independent actors started to play a significant role in terms of impact on voters, on electoral behavior, or something like this. So, and at the same time, in case of where we can find elite structure as a monolithic, we can see stability in terms of electoral behavior, but at the same time, we can distinguish ethnic republics into the two groups, stability with supermajority and stability without supermajority. And if we talk about with differentiations, with variations, I think the main factor is economic efficiency, because only in cases where we can find a high level of industrializations, and but not it's maybe level of industrializations is not concept what is perfect. I mean, if regional elites has some kind of economic efficiency, regional elites can use these tools as a source of for legitimacy, and actually really voters, people tends to compare the republic with other, and actually if people recognize what comparing with other Russian regions, the republic is better in terms of economical development, people really tends to support regional authorities more than in other republics. So, and I will stop here. This is my main finding and main ideas which I want to share with you. And thank you very much for coming. And I will be happy to give answer on these questions. And if you give me some kind of feedback, I also will be very grateful for it. Thank you.
I think now it's time for our discussion. So, please. So maybe let's say 10 minutes maximum.
First, let me thank Stanislav for a very rich and detailed presentation. And for those who may be not much familiar with Stanislav's previous research, I would say that this is a very serious extension, a follow-up of his previous analysis of machine politics in Russian Republic of Bashkortostan. It was published in English in Demokratizatsiya, I believe early this year. And my understanding is that he pursued a very interesting task of explaining the linkage between ethnicity and electoral politics. Russia's ethnic republics are known by their hyper-loyalty and bringing many positive returns to the federal center through federal elections, and there is a strong tradition of research which tend to use various factors for explaining such a phenomenon. Stanislav pointed out an important issue of language policy reform of 2017, which was probably not that much related to elections, but certainly had some electoral consequences. This language reform is basically a part of strategy of nation building in Russia, which is aimed at homogenization of the country and language unification. It's hardly unique globally. The first parallel may be drawn with famous book by Eugene Weber, Peasants into Frenchmen. He described how French government in the late 19th century basically eliminated some regional languages in French provinces, and the Russian government would like to do the same. But the degree of success of such an approach varied across republics, as focus groups convincingly demonstrate. It is very much different in Komi on the one end of the scale, and say Saha or Tatarstan on the other end of the scale. So then the question how to conceptualize this variety of responses and their electoral consequences. And my understanding is that the best framing of such a variety is thinking about this language policy reform as an exogenous shock. It was brought to republics from Moscow, and certainly Republican elites and Republican societies responded in various ways. My understanding is that it could be a replica of a famous triad by Albert Hirschman: exit, voice, and loyalty. Well, maybe some sort of neglect as a fourth type of reaction on this exogenous shock. And my understanding is that there was an initial variation of issue salience. Apart from fragmentation or monopolization of regional elites, degree of economic performance and the like, because salience of the issue is different. In Komi, where Russification probably advanced much more successfully even before the language reform, it was completely different from Bashkortostan or Tatarstan. And from this perspective, Komi and Chuvashia may be perceived as an exit solution, Bashkortostan and Sakha as some sort of voice, and Tatarstan is probably the most interesting case of this conspicuous loyalty, and I wonder if Stanislav may use this reframing of his analysis along Hirschman's lines in the next stages of research. Regarding the linkages between ethnicity and electoral outcomes, this will be a really difficult task to avoid a logical error known as post hoc ergo propter hoc. After that, do not mean because of that. For detecting to what extent language issue may be important for electoral volatility, probably Republican level analysis will be not enough. There will be a need for analysis, at least on the level of electoral districts, tracing the impact of ethnicity, the impact of other factors, economic growth, rise of decline of real incomes, and so on and so forth. Maybe some political factors such as previous record of electoral support and the like. But certainly it's not the task for the current paper. It would require a different paper, several papers, but certainly for explorative nature, for posing this question to research agenda, this material is invaluable. I'm a little bit skeptical about an excessive use of metaphors in Stanislav's analysis, because he invented very nice parallels for each of cases. Like rebellious wolf in case of Bashkortostan and the like, but it's not so obvious. Moreover, in the same paragraph on Tatarstan, it labeled a panther or a leopard, and I just wonder which one is the most correct metaphor. But I would suggest that probably metaphors would be better for the book level treatment rather than for a single research article. Again, let me congratulate Stanislav and wish him a successful following up of his research. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vladimir. I find what your idea about the theoretical framework by Hirschman here is a very good idea. I will think about this more. And yeah, actually, I agree with remark regarding my metaphor with some animals. Maybe it's not so good idea. And actually, if you maybe you notice that actually in my presentations I rejected from this approach. Thank you so much for this very remark, which is really helpful for me. Thank you.
All right. Just a quick remark about the metaphors, because our audience is not aware of that there were any metaphors at all, because they were in the text that was actually Vladimir was discussing, and they were gone from the presentation. But now I think it's a perfect time to for the questions from the chat. And let me start with Yusupova's question. So this is about how you recruited participants, especially in Chuvashia. Was it anyhow different in other republics? And Uzel noticed that the location in Chuvashia is.
I can ask it with my voice. Hi, hello all. Unfortunately, I cannot switch on my camera right now, but I can ask my question with my voice. Thank you, Stanislav, very much. This is very much needed and interesting research question and very interesting design. And I look forward for reading your article. And also, hopefully, my papers that will be out this week or next week will also have an addition to your thoughts, and it confirms some of your findings. Especially about Tatarstan, why do they support president, and how is it is related to their anger with federal policy on federal language policies. But my question was about focus group. As a qualitative sociologist, I'm of course very much interested in methodology of qualitative research, and I think maybe I'm a little bit surprised with the results you gain from Chuvashia. And I was wondering, does this location where you recruited your research participants for this focus group, does it affect the outcomes of the focus group? Because I noticed that other locations were more in rural area or remote, they were remote from capitals. But in Chuvashia, this location seems to be Cheboksary or somewhere nearby. So maybe because language is more important for population in rural areas, I mean, indigenous language is more important for rural area population. So maybe this affected this outcome of this research in Chuvashia, because I also did research in Chuvashia exactly during this language reform and protests that were happening in 2017, and my impressions were slightly different about the outcomes of these reforms in Chuvashia, I mean. But it also can be that my research participant and my choice of research participant was biased. Can you tell more about it, please? Thanks again.
Yeah, Guzeli, thank you very much for your questions, and thank you for very kind words about me. So, actually, talking about focus group and the main criteria to select cases was the first criteria is I try to collect sample which include only representative members of titular ethnic groups. So the first criteria is mono-ethnic structure of a focus group, because we talk about ethnicity, identity, religions, and of course this set of issues are sensitive for many people, and I expect that in mono-ethnic groups, people tend to talk about this issue more openly. So, but if you talk about Chuvashia, just how I create a sample, yeah. Just I first of all I found colleagues in the regions, and these colleagues helped me to recruit member of focus group. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Guzeli, thank you. I agree that maybe village, Sakhron, which was in Chuvashia, yeah, actually this village pretty close to capital of Chuvash Republic, but at the same time, all most people in this village were Chuvash people, and in this sense, this case suitable. This case is okay according to the main criteria to collect members, which will be criteria which without mono-ethnic members of groups. So, but yeah, maybe I don't know. It's very interesting idea. Maybe if we expand sample, if we maybe will conduct a focus group in other village or regions of Chuvash Republic, maybe in other village, other areas, Chuvash people maybe will demonstrate other.
I just simply meant maybe this urban-rural divide is important. That's all what I'm saying. But if it was a like true village, then it's okay, I think. Urban divide for language policies and their assessment might be important in case of ethnic republics of Russia. Might be.
Maybe, but actually, I try to achieve the goal. I try to find some kind of role of ethnicity. And why I conducted a focus group in rural area, because in most titular ethnic groups lived in rural area, and I expect that maybe role of ethnicity I would find in rural area. So, but fairly say, if talk about the Chuvash case and the main reason why we decided to conduct a focus group in this village, actually. It was choice of colleagues in Chuvash Republic. Of course, we had some kind of restrictions, financial restrictions, and of course, we could not choose any village. It depends on maybe colleagues in regions which agree to help us in this way. But maybe, yeah, usually I agree. Maybe case of Chuvashia as any cases maybe are not perfect, and of course maybe we would find any result if we conducted focus group in other areas. But thank you very much. But actually, I can talk only about finding what we have.
Okay, so fair enough. The next question is from Maria Matskevich. Was Russian the only language for focus group discussions, or your researchers perhaps used some local language?
Yeah, actually, the main language was Russian, of course, but at the same time, many people in switch on their native language. It was very often for many people, especially for old people, to talk and to impress your opinion in native language were less simply, and many people prefer to talk in native language. So as a result, we have to translate in transcriptions of this focus group. Yeah, but in general, most people, of course, understand Russian. In general, yeah, we talk in Russian. Yes.
Okay, so then we have some complementary feedback from Brazil. University of São Paulo. So just appreciation of your work. And then the next question is from Anna Tarasenko. So how you understand and measure monolithic versus fragmented elite structure? And does the change of a governor impact the structure of elites?
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Thank you very much for your question. Actually, to measure type of structure of elites, I used just case study analysis. I used political narrative, and actually as well I used the most interesting articles which focus on the some regions. For example, there are many articles about comparison Tatarstan and Bashkortostan, for example, and so on. So actually, it's not secret, but appointment from Moscow actually affect on structure of elites, and using this narrative case studies, I identified this very well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anna. And are there any other questions or comments? So please, you can actually use your voice.
How are you going to develop this research? Yeah. That's interesting.
Oh, great questions. I don't know, actually. So it depends on maybe the future grants financial supporting for this research project. If I will have financial support from some grant foundations, I will continue this research because I think it's a great idea to expand sample and include maybe in analysis other regions. And therefore, I think what is a good idea to consider these questions using quantity methods like multiplier regressions analysis, which are required to include other variables which we have to calculate it. So I think there are many ways how we can continue this research project, but it depends on many factors which maybe don't depend on. I think in Russia now the main problem is financial support for research. Yeah, thank you.
All right. I don't see any hands or other questions or comments. So perhaps you would like to respond to Vladimir's comments because you didn't have an opportunity to do so. Of course, if you wish.
Vladimir?
Yeah.
No, actually, I thought about the main ideas of Vladimir, and again, I'm really grateful for this feedback. And Vladimir gave very interesting idea about the Hirschman theory. And here I will going to think about more, and we're going probably to use this idea to describe each case based on this approach, this theoretical framework. I think it's a good idea. Also, yeah. Also, I agree with Vladimir about the metaphor as a maybe not so good ideas. I agree. And maybe for international articles, I abolish from this approach. So again, thank you, Vladimir. Thank you very much.
Okay, so actually we kept up with perfect timing despite all the technical challenges we've been facing so far. If there are no other questions or comments, so let me thank you, all of you, for being with us today. So this was a very interesting and promising seminar, and I'm pretty sure that we will see more publication from Stanislav on this. This is a very much needed research in the area, and there's so much actually systematic comparative work done in this area, mostly is case studies. And this nice combination of focus groups, qualitative evidence with quantitative analysis. Best of luck with this. So, and thanks to our audience and for your patience. And we're looking forward to see you again at our New Perspectives in Russia and Eurasia seminars.
Thank you again for everyone for coming. Thank you.